Hi, my name's Phoebe, and today I'll be reading a Dragon Ball Z fanfiction, Depresaversary, which I originally shared on fanfiction.net September 2011. Celebrations were in full swing with the parties planned for the upcoming public holiday that Wednesday. The chatter among the students was excited as they planned their day off. "I'm going to have the biggest party ever," Sharpener bragged. He was always throwing last-minute parties. He liked to wait to see if someone else was doing something better first. "Oh, can I come?" Erasa asked, jumping like a hyperactive child. "Of course, babe. It wouldn't be a party without you," Sharpener answered. He put his arm around his oldest friend, pulling her close to him, that girl leaning onto her friend's shoulder. She loved the attention. "Gohan, you can be my date." Erasa pulled away from Sharpener and clung to Gohan. "Are you all right?" Erasa asked when she didn't get a reaction. He usually pulled away after a nervous laugh when she flirted with him. "It's time to party!" Sharpener cheered, watching with concern as Erasa picked Gohan's hand up and moving his arm around like a puppet. Sharpener moved so that he was standing on the other side of Gohan and then joined Erasa in trying to get their friend to respond, both concerned, seeing nothing but hello eyes staring into nothingness. "Nerd boy? You in there? To Nerd boy." "What are you doing?" Videl asked, startling both blondes into dropping Gohan's hand. "Trying to get Gohan's attention? Something's wrong with him." "Wow, you look terrible. You okay?" Erasa let go of Gohan's hand and raced over to Videl when she noticed she wasn't her normal self. "What's wrong?" "Something's wrong with Videl?" Gohan asked, still in a trance-like state. But it was more than they had out of him before. Sharpener snorted. "Of course you noticed Videl, but not us. Why are you both so depressed? This is a time to celebrate. No moping allowed," Sharpener jeered. "Why does it have to be a celebration for my dad?" Videl yelled out, drawing the attention of the other students in the class. "There were other people at the Cell Games as well. Why couldn't one of them have beaten Cell instead? That way, I wouldn't have to put up with this stupid celebration and my dad's big ego every single year for the last 7 years." "But that is the day your family came into wealth. You were 2 weeks away from being evicted if your dad didn't beat Cell. You would probably be living on the streets now or with your grandma," Erasa said, reminding Videl how far her family had come money-wise. "But I don't get to spend time with my dad anymore," Videl said, sounding like a spoilt child that didn't want to share a toy with anyone. "Babe, come to my party. That will keep your mind off everything," Sharpener suggested. "Nice try, Sharpener, but no thanks," Videl said, with a slight grin sneaking its way through. She turned her attention to the zombie-like state the new kid was in. "Why are you so sad?" Videl inquired. "My dad died," Gohan started to explain, but was interrupted before he could continue. "What are you even doing at school if your dad died?" the shocked-blonde girl asked. "You should be at home with your family." "It wasn't recent, babe, was it?" Sharpener asked. He wouldn't put it past Gohan to put his education before personal matters. "It will be 7 years ago on Wednesday," Gohan answered, trying to get the images of his last moment with his father out of his head. "Wow, that's the same year as the Cell Games happened," Erasa said. "My dad died the day of the Cell Games," Gohan answered, trying to remain calm. "He was one of the only people that was killed by Cell that didn't come back, and it was my fault that he died." Sharpener remembered something from the news stories from after the Cell Games. It was rumoured that some of the people that died and came back during the time of King Piccolo didn't come back after Cell. "Did your dad die then?" "No, it was another time when I was little. That was my fault too. I killed my dad twice," Gohan answered, tears now streaming down his face. "How could it be your fault if Cell killed your father?" Videl asked. "And I'm sure that the other time wasn't your fault either." "I made a mistake. I was too cocky, and because of that, it cost my dad his life," the teenager answered in hysteria. "The time before that, he died trying to save my life from my uncle who kidnapped me. If I wasn't around, if I'd stayed at home with Mum, he wouldn't have died that time either." "Cocky, you?" Sharpener started to laugh, trying to imagine Gohan being cocky. "Your uncle kidnapped you?" Erasa gasped. The teacher chose this moment to come into the class and stopped, surprised when she noticed that it was the class genius and his 3 friends that were disrupting the class. "Don't worry, Gohan. School will be back on Tuesday," the teacher said, jumping to the wrong conclusion about why her prize student was upset. "It's not that, miss," Videl said, the crime fighter's tone shocking the teacher also. She'd never seen or heard Videl looking so upset. "Something happened between you two, didn't it?" the teacher suggested, knowing the mischief that some of her students could get up to. Sharpener went into a fit of laughter, trying to imagine Gohan and Videl in a relationship. Videl turned red at the suggestion. It, however, went over Gohan's head what the teacher had suggested. Believe me, it's nothing like that. I would know, Erasa answered, confusing the teacher about the sudden behaviour changes of Gohan and Videl. If nothing had happened between them, then why were they both so upset? Can we go? Sharpener asked, holding back giggles. If it means that the students that actually want to learn get a chance to learn, then you may leave, the teacher answered. She didn't usually like to dismiss students without a good reason. They wouldn't get anything done while Gohan and Videl were both in that state. She watched as Sharpener and Erasa helped the hysterical genius out of the classroom, followed by the grumpy crime fighter. Miss, can I go as well? One of the boys in the front row asked. If you even think of disrupting my class, you'll get detention for a week, the teacher scolded them. That goes for all of you. There were some grumbles from the students about Videl and her friends getting special treatment from all the teachers, and wishing they were close friends with the crime fighter. One question that came to the minds of all the students was why was she friends with those people in the first place, the people that she hung out with, and why did she go to their school? Weren't famous kids meant to go to exclusive schools that cost zillions of zenny to go to? Sharpener and Erasa had spent the whole day attempting to cheer Gohan and Videl up while setting up for Sharpener's totally awesome party for Cell's Defeat Day. So what are you going to do for your day off if you aren't coming to my party? Sharpener asked. I'm going to spend the day with my mum while pretending that I'm not upset and that I still don't blame myself for what happened, while trying to keep her from crying the whole day. Oh, I just remembered that I have to hide the television. We normally have to buy a new one every year after the anniversary of my dad's death. What does your dad's death have to do with getting a new TV? Erasa asked the question that everyone else was wondering. Any mention of the Cell games reminds my mum that my dad was killed by Cell. She gets angry and takes it out on the television, Gohan said, remembering the first anniversary of his father's death. His mother threw the television and almost hit 6-month-old Goten. The only reason that the television didn't hit Goten was Gohan catching it. His mother hadn't thrown a TV again after that incident, but she did hit it with her frying pan and punch her fist through it. And one year she'd somehow got hold of a machine gun and blasted the TV to smithereens. Earth to Gohan, he heard a voice saying, bringing him out of his thoughts of every anniversary so far. Erasa was sitting in front of him, waving her hand in front of his face. She smiled when he jumped back. Destroying a TV sounds like something Videl would do, Erasa piped up when she saw he was back in the land of the living. I was at Videl's the day of the Cell games. My parents died near the start of the Cell games. I was missed because I was at a sleepover at Pyrrhus. I walked home from Pyrrhus, finding my parents' clothing on the floor. Pyrrha and I lived close to one another, so they allowed me to walk between our houses. It was strange only finding the clothes. But I didn't think anything of it at first. I just assumed that my parents had gone out in a hurry. I started watching the TV, looking for cartoons. But every channel was the same thing. That was how I found out about Cell. Sharpener went over to comfort Erasa, who had broken down into tears. I ran back to Pyrrhus because they're the only people I knew close to my home. By the time I got there, Erasa choked up. They were the same as my parents, just clothes. He'd been so close, and everywhere I looked around was more clothes. Everyone was gone. I was alone and I was so scared. I don't think I actually know anyone that was absorbed by Cell, Gohan said, imagining that it was his mother and his friends in place of Erasa's family. I don't know what I would have done if I'd come home to find my mum and grandpa's clothes lying on the floor like that. Time of the Cell games were pretty bad. I died. I was absorbed. It was the scariest thing that had ever happened, Sharpener said, realizing how lucky he was to be alive after dying. We evacuated the city, and we're in a camp with hundreds of people. They all got together with the remainder of the money. We hired this guy. I think his name was Teo or something like that. He built a shelter that was meant to keep Cell out and keep us safe. It was just about completed when this blonde kid came out and blew up the shelter, telling us we were stupid if we thought something like that was going to keep Cell out. Gohan felt so guilty. Was it his fault that Sharpener and his parents had been absorbed? He was the one that had blown up the shelter that Sharpener was talking about. That kid was right. So many of us in one place had attracted Cell. He would have come either way. With how quickly that building was built, it would have never been strong enough. Sharpener finished the story. How did you end up at Videl's? Gohan asked the crying blonde girl after seeing that Sharpener wasn't going to continue. I ran from Pyrrha's house, trying to find anyone that was alive, but finding no one, Erasa said barely above a whisper. I think it was about 2 days that I went from place to place, breaking into houses to get food and sleeping in cupboards. and even in a washing machine under clothes, hoping that Cell wouldn't find me. I heard someone enter the house that I happened to be hiding in. I ran to find a better hiding spot, but he heard me. I almost died of fright and collapsed with relief when it wasn't Cell standing before me. That person had saved me was Hercule. I had broken into his mother's house. He'd come to check on her, but she'd been absorbed like everyone else. Poor Grandma, she brings it up every time we visit her. Reckons that we let her die on purpose, Videl said, wishing at times that her grandmother had stayed dead. Videl punched the disco ball, angry with herself that she'd wish anyone dead, especially a blood relative. Anyways, Hercule took me to where he was hiding Videl, Erasa said, and that is how we became friends, and why I was with her when we watched the Cell games. When all the cameras were wiped out, Videl got really angry and she threw the remote control at the TV, screaming for it to work, and then got up and started kicking and punching it. She kicked the screen in. My grandpa said that Mum picked the TV up and started shaking it and then threw it or something along those lines when the reception was lost, Gohan answered, shivering at the similarity that the girl he went to school with had with his mother. I wasn't home at the time. I was out with Dad. Telling my mum that Dad died to protect me, that he wasn't coming home, was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. How did you die? Erasa asked the ghost white jock. This time he continued his story. We fled from the site of the Cell protection structure with some of my parents' new friends. We thought that being in the middle of nowhere was remotely safe, but we were wrong, Sharpener said, remembering the last moments of his life. Cell had us trapped in a cave with nowhere to run. I watched as Cell picked people off one by one, starting with the adults, followed by the teenagers, then the elderly, leaving the children to last. He absorbed us, kids, youngest to oldest. It was horrible. Cell absorbed my baby sister while she was in my arms. There were only 4 of us left. I remember Lime fighting till the very end. She was the closest to my age out of the people that escaped. She tried to fight Cell to the very end. A few moments later, I was absorbed. I assumed the 2 older ones after me. Lime died, Gohan said. He knew that she had to be the same Lime that he'd known. I should have let her drown. It would have been a nicer death than being absorbed by Cell. It was a miracle that she survived when Cell absorbed her family, and then almost drowned a few days later, and then a few days after that, actually dying. Wait, you're the guy that saved her from drowning? Sharpener said, seeing his friend in a new light. She said that he had blonde hair. I had blonde hair for a couple of months when I was younger, Gohan said, hoping that they wouldn't link him to the paper delivery boy with that information. Mum started crying about me turning into delinquent the first time she ever saw me with blonde hair, Gohan managed to chuckle. She had drowned, she would have never got to live again, Erasa said. Gohan knew that she was correct. What were you doing in that area anyway? Sharpener asked. That's a couple of hours away from the 439 Mountain District. We ran out of food. Mum wanted something nice, Gohan answered with a grin for the first time that day. It was for my birthday. We had a picnic. It was like everything was normal for a few moments. We could forget about Cell for a few hours. Birthday? Videl asked. When is your birthday? 11th of May, Gohan answered. Why didn't you tell us it was your birthday? Erasa asked. She liked everyone knowing when her birthday was. I didn't think it was important, Gohan said with a shrug. Besides, my mother makes a big enough deal about my birthday every year that I didn't want anyone else to know. 18 is the only important one to worry about. Next year, when you turn 18, we'll have a big birthday bash, Sharpener said, already planning Gohan's birthday party. I turned 18 the other day, Gohan corrected. Dude, you're the same age as me, Sharpener said, shocked that the class nerd was the same age as him. I thought you were the same age as Erasa and Videl. How come you only started school now? Shouldn't you go straight to college? Videl asked. You're smart enough to be in college already. My mum kept going on about getting a high school diploma, Gohan answered. She also said about meeting people my own age and that college wasn't the place to make friends. That's stupid. College parties are the best, Erasa said, who had been to her fair share of college parties. My mum wants me to concentrate on studying when I start college, Gohan said. He would be forced to do much more studying than he already did when he started. He was not looking forward to that. Do you always do everything your mother asks you to do? Videl shouted, sick of the goody-goody act that Gohan always portrayed. I don't do everything my mum says. Maybe if I did everything she asked, my dad would still be alive, Gohan said. His mother hadn't wanted him to fight in the Cell games. She had begged him not to go, to stay home with her. Stop blaming yourself, Erasa said, as the light mood disappeared as quickly as it had come. The times of Cell were dangerous and terrifying. Which is why we celebrate the fact that Cell is dead, Sharpener said, not feeling as festive anymore. Why did it have to be my dad to beat Cell? Videl shouted. I hate being famous. I hate being rich. I want to be normal, like you three are. Videl, I'm not normal, Gohan said without thinking. You're more normal than I am, Videl answered. I live in the middle of nowhere, Gohan said, trying to prove that he wasn't normal without saying too much. Many people do. I live in a mansion, Videl said, back to trying to prove how different she was. My grandfather lives in a castle, Gohan answered. Maybe it was time to open up a little. These people were his friends. He didn't need to keep everything from them. Is it an old or a new one? Erasa asked. The little girl inside of her that wanted to be a princess showing through. Does a handsome prince live there? Oh, and a king and a queen and a princess. Is the prince single? It's probably not that type of castle, Sharpener said in fits of laughter, trying to imagine Gohan as a prince. What's so funny about that? Gohan asked as clueless as ever. Which royal family? Videl asked, having met quite a few royals. Let's not talk about them, Gohan said, trying to move the conversation to another topic. So it does have a royal family, Erasa squealed in excitement. There might be someone that I've met like Princess Mayoko from Grooms, Videl said. She had clashed with that princess on a few occasions. Mayoko is a princess, Gohan said. She hates me because I accidentally pushed her down a set of stairs and broke her arm when I was 3. You met Princess Mayoko when you were 3? Erasa said with excitement. Is she the one that lives in the castle where your grandfather lives? No, her grandfather and my grandfather are friends, Gohan answered, with the first thing that came to his mind. Let's talk about something else, like Cell. Videl's watch beeped. Duty calls, she sighed. I should head out. School is over for the day and my mum worries when I come home late. Enjoy your party on Wednesday, Gohan said, waving to his friends. Talking about what they had gone through with Cell had helped. Slide after slide was displayed on the projector of Goku as a baby with Grandpa Gohan, a lot of pictures of Bulma and Goku, Goku and Chi-Chi. They were up to slides of Gohan as a baby when Goten spoke. I wish there were pictures of me as a baby with Daddy. I know, he would love to be in photos with you, Bulma said. She was hoping that Chi-Chi and Gohan would add more, but they'd been non-responsive. It was better than previous years when Gohan seemed almost suicidal with his depression and blaming himself over his father's death. This year was more thoughtful and quiet. Maybe school was doing good for him. Chi-Chi was angry at Goku for not coming back, and Bulma feared that if Goku stayed dead too much longer, he would lose Chi-Chi forever. Chi-Chi loved Goku to death, but Bulma occasionally got the feeling that Chi-Chi was ready to move on. There were also no destroyed TVs this year, which was another plus, though she had noticed that there were no TVs around to destroy. Maybe they'd already been destroyed or removed beforehand. Gohan, how's school? Bulma asked, trying to bring up some light chit-chat. It's good, Gohan answered, trying to put on a happy face in front of his mother. I almost let it slip yesterday that Grandpa is the Ox King. Bulma smiled, glad that Gohan was now talking. Is that a bad thing? Bulma asked. Probably not. I just want to be normal, Gohan replied. Gohan looked up as Goten started laughing. Big brother, your hair looks so funny in that picture. How trip-dynamic, Bulma said, wondering how Chi-Chi had ever managed to get Gohan's hair like that. I wonder how all the Namekians are, Gohan asked, forgetting why they were watching the slides in the first place. My poor baby, getting sent to space like that, Chi-Chi said in a lighter mood than she'd been in for previous anniversaries. I enjoyed space. I learned so much more than you can learn from a textbook, Gohan answered. His mother's eyes sparkled at the mention of education. I want to go to space, Goten whined. I want to go as well, Trunks said enthusiastically. Can we go to space, please? You're too young to go to space, Chi-Chi answered sternly. I agree, Bulma said, and space is dangerous. Bulma smiled. They were going to be all right. Gohan just ignored the two adults, hoping they wouldn't remember that he was younger than the boys were now when he went to space. Though he was a lot more mature than his brother and young friend when he was a child. Gohan was in a happy mood when he returned to school the next day. Most of the day had been spent talking about old times and remembering the good times that they'd had together. Krillin and Marin had come by in the afternoon and it was nice seeing the two adults that he was closest to. They'd always been a part of his childhood. Gohan watched as Videl skipped into the classroom, something that he'd never seen before. He didn't take her as the type of person to skip. That was more of a racist sort of thing. "You seem happy today," Gohan said as the teen hero sat down. "My dad spent the whole day with me," Videl said happily. "He was away in the morning for some ceremony, but back before lunch, I got to spend the whole time with Dad and Grandma." "That's great about your dad spending time with you," Gohan answered with a smile. "I spent the whole day with my mum and my brother Gohan and a couple of close family friends." Gohan and Videl both watched as the two blondes entered the classroom. "Are you two okay?" Gohan asked, wondering if they should even be at school. "They're both fine. Both have hangovers," Videl answered, glad that she didn't go to the party. She'd probably have to arrest her friends if she saw what they'd been up to. "Isn't Erasa underage?" Gohan whispered. Videl nodded and Erasa groaned. "Why can't the public holiday be on a Friday?" Sharpener complained. "I want to sleep." Gohan watched the reaction of several students as the teacher came in, and she made slightly more noise than normal. He turned to see Videl smile at each reaction from the students. He wondered where they would all be a year from now, and how the next anniversary of the Cell Games and his father's death would go. A part of him hoping that next year his dad would finally be in his life again. This has been a Dragon Ball Z fanfiction reading of Depresaversary. Thank you for listening.